They were disturbing items. There's a few things that were just like, will blow your mind. There could have been greater plans as far as getting rid of her, and it's scary, sadistic stuff. I'm certain I know who it is. I can't say, but there is surveillance from, the 29th, and I'm certain I know who this person is.
Private investigator told me tonight that he actually has video evidence of the last person driving that Tesla. He says he has supplied it to the LAPD. He also told me tonight an arrest in the case could be coming very soon.
Something dark has surfaced. According to private investigator Steve Fischer, there are now 7 new updates and hard evidence that could blow the entire investigation wide open. Fischer isn't some random online sleuth. He was hired by the homeowner of the rental property where David had been staying before everything collapsed. And in his latest findings, he claims to have obtained surveillance footage showing who last drove the Tesla, the same Tesla where the girl's body was later found.
A private investigator claims he's uncovered crucial new evidence in the haunting case of 15-year-old Celeste Hernandez, the girl found in the front trunk of a Tesla registered to rising music star David. And that new evidence, he claims, includes who was the last one driving the Tesla where the teen's body was ultimately discovered.
For months, the biggest mystery has been, who drove that car? The vehicle was registered to David, but no one actually knew who had parked it before it was abandoned. Fischer says that question is now answered.
Fischer also says he's uncovered interesting video from neighborhood security cameras that he's handed over to LAPD. He says he knows who was driving the car when it was abandoned in late July, presumably with the body in the trunk.
I'm certain I know who it is. I can't say, but there is surveillance from, the 29th, and I'm certain I know who this person is.
He has video proof of the last person behind the wheel, and yes, he's already turned it over to the LAPD. According to him, the footage was captured by neighborhood security cameras near where the Tesla was dumped. It shows the car being parked late at night on July 29th, and a person stepping out wearing distinctive clothing. That phrase, distinctive clothing, is doing all the heavy lifting here. He's not naming the person yet, but he's saying he's certain who it is. And he's certain that the body was already in the car at that time. Meaning whoever parked that vehicle knew exactly what they were leaving behind. Fischer has also confirmed that the LAPD has the footage, but no arrest has been made yet. Why? Because they're waiting for toxicology and forensic reports. But behind the scenes, the pressure is building.
Private investigator told me tonight that he actually has video evidence of the last person driving that Tesla. He says he has supplied it to the LAPD. He also told me tonight an arrest in the case could be coming very soon.
Even Fischer hinted that an arrest could come very soon. And when an investigator says that on camera, it's not a casual remark. It's a warning shot. Now, the next revelation is the one that has people losing sleep. Because Fischer didn't just stop at video footage, he physically entered the property David was renting. And what he says he found there is the stuff nightmares are made of.
They were disturbing items.
He found items that could be linked to the crime, items left behind by LAPD even after a search of the property.
There's some items, some physical items that I unfortunately can't disclose, but they are significant because they could be something that could have been used in a plan to actually get rid of her body.
He described the discoveries as disturbing, sadistic, and not belonging in any normal environment. He refused to disclose everything publicly, probably for legal reasons, but what he did say is enough to make anyone's stomach drop. He found items that could be used to get rid of a person if you wanted to.
But I will say this, there are some things that, and I'm talking physical evidence that was at that house that is, there could have been greater plans as far as getting rid of her, and it's scary, sadistic stuff. And that's why we're trying to learn more about that. I wish I could say more, but for obvious reasons I can't. But and it doesn't have to do with how she died, but maybe how they were planning on ultimately getting rid of her, and how maybe that Tesla was just a holding spot at the time, and things just, their timing was just off as far as getting this done. But there's a few things that were just like, will blow your mind.
And before anyone jumps to conclusions, he clarified that these weren't tools in the traditional sense. He said, "It's beyond tools, it's sadistic stuff." Some of those items were actually left behind after the LAPD's first search. The police had been through the property with a warrant, but for reasons unknown, they did not take certain things. They only photographed them. Now, let's talk about the part that sounds straight out of a horror movie, but might not be fiction at all. The talk online has been about acid, and no, it's not just gossip. Fischer never confirmed the exact materials publicly, but when pressed to clarify what he meant by items to dispose of a person, he gave one hint. He said there were heavy-duty trash bags, cleaning agents, and chemical products that had no reason to be there. Those words set the internet on fire. Because chemical products in this context don't mean bleach and detergent. It means something more corrosive, more final. Some online sources speculated about industrial acids, the kind used to dissolve organic matter, and the fact that LAPD photographed these items but didn't seize them. That's the part people can't stop talking about. Because if this case eventually goes to trial and those materials are connected to the victim's DNA, the question won't be who did it. It'll be why it took this long.
The last date that we have that shows her alive is January 2nd, 2025.
Now, this is where the whole story gets flipped on its head. Until recently, everyone assumed the girl died sometime around July, near when the car was dumped. But Fischer's investigation suggests something completely different. According to him, Celeste may have been deceased since January. That's 6 months earlier than anyone thought. And if that's true, the implications are horrifying. He said the last verified photo of her was taken on January 2nd, 2025, inside one of the properties David was using at the time. After that, nothing. No sightings, no verified communications, no authentic social media activity. So how does that fit into the Tesla timeline? Because the car wasn't abandoned until July 29th, which means the body could have been stored, moved, or hidden for months. Think about that. A missing teenager, potentially gone since winter, was found half a year later in a car parked on a random street in Hollywood. It's not just negligence, it's orchestration. Fischer didn't explain where he believes the body was during that missing period, but he strongly hinted that there were multiple locations involved. And that leads us to the next bombshell. In one of his interviews, Fischer mentioned something subtle but explosive. He said there's no evidence that Celeste was ever staying at the main Hollywood Hills rental. That's critical, because the popular theory online has always been that she lived there part-time with David. But Fischer says when he examined that property, there were no personal items, no trace of her belongings, nothing tying her physically to that location. So where was she? Fischer believes she may have been staying elsewhere, in a second property connected to the same circle. He described it as a downtown or Hollywood apartment that might have been rented in someone else's name. That discovery changes everything. Because if Celeste was being kept, hidden, or supported in another residence, one that wasn't officially linked to David, then we're not talking about chance. We're talking about deliberate concealment. It also explains how she seemed to vanish months before the Tesla incident without immediate alarm from those around her. If she was being housed separately, off the books, then whoever managed that arrangement didn't expect anyone to look. The big question now, who paid for that second property? If it traces back to the same bank accounts or management circle, that link could be the thread that unravels everything. Usually, when an independent investigator brings major leads, police either confirm or deny them. But in this case, radio silence. The LAPD has not publicly addressed Fischer's claims about the new footage, the disturbing objects, or the alternate property. They've only said the case is ongoing and that additional forensic analysis is underway. But the silence itself is fueling more suspicion. Why hasn't the footage been acknowledged? Why weren't the disposal materials seized on the first search? Why is an outside investigator revealing more than the department?
It's been shocking how silent he's been for somebody that really lived online. And not only him, but the people around him in his immediate orbit, they've gone completely silent.
If Fischer is telling the truth and his evidence holds up, then the delay isn't about uncertainty. It could be about politics. Celebrity cases are delicate. One wrong move and it becomes a media circus, or worse, a mistrial waiting to happen. So instead of acting fast, they wait, gather data, and prepare airtight evidence before anyone in handcuffs appears. But the longer they wait, the angrier the public becomes, and Fischer's discoveries have now lit that fire. Fischer said something subtle that most people missed, but it's the most damning line yet. He said, "There are items that could have been used in a plan to get rid of her body."
There could have been greater plans as far as getting rid of her, and it's scary, sadistic stuff. And that's why we're trying to learn more about that. I wish I could say more, but for obvious reasons I can't. But it doesn't have to do with how she died, but maybe how they were planning on ultimately getting rid of her. And
let me repeat that. He said a plan, not a panic. He's implying this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment act. It was thought out. The materials were prepared, delivered, and possibly purchased well before anything happened. That fits perfectly with the January timeline. If the death occurred months earlier and the car wasn't abandoned until July, then someone took time to stage, hide, and relocate evidence.
So we do know there was at least one crime committed, concealing body. When might we expect an arrest in the case? The investigator believes that LAPD is waiting for those toxicology reports, which could come any day and could indicate a more serious crime.
It's obvious that this investigation is far from over, and every new piece makes it more disturbing. If you want to stay updated as more of Fischer's evidence becomes public, make sure to subscribe, because when that footage drops or when LAPD finally confirms what they've been sitting on, this case will explode. I will be back with more updates. See you guys in the next video.